Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this webinar about the MSc Applied Translation and Interpreting programme at Strathclyde. My name is Sharon Dean Cox, and as Programme Director, I'll be walking you through the specifics of the programme. I'm also joined by my colleague Sammy Hay from Admissions and Student Recruitment, and she's on hand to speak to some of the more practical issues associated with applying. So just by way of outline, I'll be covering the general aims of the programme as well as the way in which it's structured. I'll introduce you to the range of taught modules that we offer before giving you an overview of the dissertation process. I'm sure one thing that you're all interested in is what happens or what might happen after you graduate. So I'll talk a little bit about prospective career paths that you might like to take. And then we'll come to the practicalities of applying, where I'll hand over to Sammy, and she can give you more information about our entry requirements as well as scholarships. So I just wanted to kind of preface everything that I'm going to say by drawing your attention to a core value of Strathclyde, and that is that we see ourselves very much as the place of useful learning. And this is a value, it's an ethos that has shaped and that continues to shape the MSc in Applied Translation and Interpreting, because essentially, what we want to make sure is that what you learn on the programme is useful, is applicable in the translation and interpreting industry, and indeed beyond. So in other words, what we want to do is help you to boost your employability. And so the curriculum has been very carefully designed to allow you to focus on applied translation and interpreting practice. And what this means is that you will engage in various different practical learning activities that recreate real world, that recreate authentic scenarios, and that also expose you to ways of working that are driven by particular goals and by the pursuit of quality across both translation and interpreting. But alongside that practical strand, you will also have the opportunity to engage with key theories around translation and interpreting. And our focus here is very much on theories that will help to feed productively into your translation and interpreting practice, and to help you reflect as well on what it is that you are doing. At the same time, engaging with those theories will also set you up very nicely to go on to PhD study, if that is something that you are interested in. And then more generally, the programme will also help you build up a wide range of different transferable skills, not just around communication, which of course is core, but you'll also become very, very adept at solving problems, thinking critically, managing your time, and so on and so forth. And these are very much sort of soft skills that employers around the world value quite highly. So then moving on to the structure of the programme, we can break it down more or less into three distinct sections. So we have the first and second taught semesters, and during that time you will build up 120 credits by taking 6 different taught modules. So each of those modules will be worth 20 credits overall. Now you'll notice that I've asterisked some of the modules. So these are the core modules. These are the modules that you must do. So there are 2 core modules in each semester. Your third module can be from one of our specific translation offerings, or you can actually choose to study a module that is embedded in any of the other taught postgraduate master programs that sit within the Department of Humanities. So we've got a really unique, really interdisciplinary and really flexible model for you to work with here. Now, once you have accumulated 120 credits, then you could leave with a postgraduate diploma at the end of semester 2. If you wanted to go on to pursue the full MSc qualification, then you'll need to do another 60 credits in the form of a dissertation. And I'll say more about that in a little while. But first, I just wanted to give you some more detail about each of the taught modules that we offer, starting with the Translation and Interpreting Studies module, which is a core module. It's one that you have to do, and it's really the only module on the programme that has sort of at its centre this emphasis on theory. So what we do is we more or less chart the development of translation and interpreting studies as an academic discipline. And we do it in such a way that will allow you to start to join the dots between theory and practice. So it's not just pure practice. We're really kind of homing in on thinking that will help to sort of shape and scaffold what it is that you do as a translator and interpreter. During this module, we also encourage you to think about the different ways in which the context in which we translate and interpret can have a real influence on the decisions that we actually make. And we will sort of give you the skills to engage critically with what other translators and interpreters have done, because it's sort of having having a think about what they've done, analysing their decision-making processes, that allows you to sort of identify both best practices and practices that might be best avoided, let's say. And again, because you've got that theoretical component here, it's going to sort of stand you in really good stead when it comes to the dissertation, but also if you wanted to carry on to doctoral study as well. Next, we have the Professional Interpreting Practice core module, which is delivered by my colleague, Dr. Amy Lee, who has extensive real-world interpreting practice. If you do join the programme, you will hear us refer quite frequently to your toolkit, because essentially we want you to develop and use the skills that you can apply in the real world. When it comes to interpreting in this particular module, you'll be developing your consecutive interpreting skills. Which means that you will build up a really sound working knowledge of interpreting workflows and how to prepare for particular assignments, how to brief and debrief clients, and so on. You'll also learn how to listen actively, how to take notes, how to engage your working memory, and how to handle any number of quite tricky or difficult situations that might arise in a real-world interpreting scenario. Again, everything here is geared towards encouraging you to develop that professional level of competence. So the third taught module that we offer in semester 1 is actually an option module on specialised translation, which technically means that you could swap this out for a module, for example, in gender studies or media and communication. However, what we find is that all of our students choose to do this particular module. And primarily because it is essentially so useful, because it's been designed to give you a taster of the various different domains that fall underneath this heading of specialised translation. Because typically professional translators tend to sort of select a handful of domains in which to work. So the idea here is that this will help you to make more informed decisions about your career path, about the type of expertise that you would like to develop. Maybe you're interested in translating for news outlets, or translating for the travel and tourism sector, or for the gaming industry. What this will let you do is sort of, yeah, get some insight into the sort of language specific conventions that you can find in each of those particular domains. You will again be able to build out your toolkit, because you'll become more aware of the specific type of challenges that you might be confronted with when translating a fashion text, for example, and you'll be able to build up that toolkit of solutions as well, that will allow you to sort of handle all of this competently, and to produce translations that meet those professional standards. Then moving on to semester 2, our first core taught module is business translation. So this is very much a deep dive into the type of translation that happens in sort of commercial and financial context, because business translation is one of the most common areas of activity in the translation industry. So here we start off by getting to grips with business discourse, so patterns of how meaning is made and communicated in business settings, whether that's through the use of clarity of expression, or ambiguity, or metaphor, for example. And then we move on to exploring the types of challenges and strategies associated with the translation of different types of text underneath that umbrella. So we might be looking at localizing business websites. We might consider how to handle the translation of a financial report, and how to subtitle corporate videos. So there's 2 weeks built into this module that's dedicated to learning how to use subtitling software as well. And then sort of, yeah, in many respects, the core interpreting module then complements the business translation one, because it's also got a focus on interpreting in business and commerce settings. So here, yes, you'll be building on the consecutive interpreting skills that you developed in semester 1, but we'll expand outwards from that, and you will have the opportunity to get a lot of practice in liaison interpreting, or what's also known as dialogue interpreting. So most weeks here, you will take part in sort of a simulated real world scenario. So for example, that could be interpreting for a press conference, or liaising between partners in a business meeting about supply chain issues, or setting up a stall at a trade fair, or introducing a new luxury product into a department store, for example. So yeah, we have a whole host of different role-playing practice that will help you to build up your confidence, but also build up your toolkit, your skill set, to reach those professional levels of practice. Now, the translation industry placement is another very popular module that we've only been running for a few years, but every single student has opted to go with this one, because again, it's an opportunity to enhance your employability, because you get out there into the real world to see how translation and interpreting, or any other sort of related activity, plays out across a sort of different range of companies and organizations. Now, we can help you to secure those placements, because we've steadily been building up contacts with a lot of different organizations, including, for example, Global Connects, which is a translation agency based in Glasgow, and the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, which is based in Denmark but offers virtual placements. So we currently have 4 of our students doing a virtual placement with GBIF at the minute, and they're all working on website translation within that specialised domain of natural sciences. In general, students really do get a lot from their placements. They're fun, they're informative, it allows you to enlarge your network of contacts, and so it really can be a really important stepping stone towards launching your career. Now, because all of our students tend to go for the placement module, we don't always run our translation with language technology option module, which focuses on using what's known as computer-assisted translation tools and on post-editing machine translation output or output that has been generated by artificial intelligence. Now, because these are really crucial skills to have, what we've started to do is to integrate a lot of the activities from this module into the specialized translation module and into the business translation module. So even though this one may not run, you're still getting the benefits of the insights. So it might be the case that, for example, you practice translating a tourist brochure using the Trados CAT tool, or you run a company's sustainability mission statement through DeepL or Google Translate, and then learn how to post-edit the raw output using either light or full post-editing techniques. Now, irrespective of whether this module runs or not, we are fortunate to be an RWS campus partner. Now, RWS is the company that owns the Trados CAT tool, so it's a translation software package that sort of helps you in your translation practice. And Trados is also very much the industry gold standard when it comes to CAT tools. So it's a really good string to have in your bow if you're able to show that you can use this. Now, through the campus partnership, you will have free access to the software. You will have free access to all of the RWS training material, as well as free access to their certification exams. So if you're able to work towards that certificate, sort of both through activities in class and sort of as a form of independent learning, then that's really going to stand you in good stead. So we don't, even within this module, we don't have the scope to cover absolutely everything, but most students are able to sort of manage to work through the training that's required to get a level, at least a level 1 certificate in the use of Trados Studio, as well as the certificate in use of their term-based technology and their post-editing certification as well. So once you've managed to successfully complete all of your taught modules, then you'll be able to progress onto your dissertation. Now, this can actually take a number of different formats. So you've got a little bit of choice here to make from the outside. So you can choose to do a dissertation project, which involves doing a translation or an interpretation, and then writing a commentary on what you did and why. Or you can choose to go along a more traditional research dissertation route, where you identify a particular research question, you design your methodology, and then you come up with hopefully new and original findings. Or there's a third sort of hybrid option where you can do a little bit of both. So that might look like, for example, exploring an existing translation and then using that as a motivation to do a new retranslation. So there are sort of, yeah, multiple different options that you can choose from there. Again, please don't worry, you will not be alone in this endeavour. You will be allocated a supervisor who will help you across the various different stages of the process. And it's a process that normally begins around May, and you are then working towards a submission deadline, which is normally around the middle of August. I just wanted to give you kind of a couple of brief examples of the type of projects that previous students have worked on. So the first two here are research-based dissertations. So we had one student who explored the strategies that were visible in the French subtitles of an animated TV series. We had another student who was having a critical look at the French translations on Visit Scotland's website, and that student actually went on to do and successfully complete a PhD afterwards. And then we have any number of different translation and commentary projects to show you, but I just wanted to spotlight here a student who worked on sports translation and translated a football club website, and another student who was interested in audiovisual translation and subtitled an Italian TV series, or at least one episode of that series. So you have a lot of options is the takeaway message there. So as I said, I'm sure one of your most pressing questions is where can this master's program take me? And I think so if the answer is in any different number of directions. So as I mentioned earlier, it will definitely set you up nicely to go on to do doctoral study. As well as to pursue a career in the language services industry. And again, there are any number of roles that you might kind of take up within that industry, and I'll speak more about that in a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, the programme will also equip you with a wide range of transferable skills that will hopefully open doors for you in a various sort of in various different settings and scenarios. And I think that's quite neatly illustrated by the wide range of graduate positions that our students have gone on to secure in the past. So you'll notice that some of them, yes, have taken up translation and interpreting specific roles, but a lot of them have gone into working on sort of governmental projects for the civil service. They've gone into teaching. So again, this can lead you down various different paths. You don't have to necessarily just focus on translation and interpreting. But if you do, then I thought I'd sort of show you this interesting graphic that's been produced by Nimdzi, which is a market research company that reports on the language services industry. Now, this graph is from their full 2023 report. The full 2025 report is actually due out any day soon, but it should more or less sort of resemble what we see here, in the sense that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry with lots of different branches and therefore lots of different options. The sort of forecast in terms of the health of the industry seems to remain very positive, and all the projections suggest that this is a market that is going to continue to grow year on year. So again, there are opportunities out there. The nature of those opportunities might be changing. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, yes, we are seeing this growth in AI. On one hand, this means that you're more likely to be carrying out post-editing tasks. So that sort of section there, that 5.9% machine translation and post editing, I think that's going to change significantly in the next market report. But on the other hand, and I hope this is reassuring, AI is still a really long way away from being able to sort of take over the industry and force out human translators. And in fact, NIMSI have released quite sort of a short pre-report, and they've got a really interesting observation in there that underscores very much the added value of human translators and the limitations, the current limitations of AI systems. So they conclude with this very positive observation that, and I quote, "AI tools complement rather than replace existing workflows, technologies, and human skills." And it's very much this sort of both and approach that we've adopted into the master's program. So we are very keen for you to still enhance your toolkit as a human translator, but we also want to make sure that you are in the position to make educated and informed decisions about when and where to use machine translation and AI in your daily tasks. So I'll end there on quite a positive note, hopefully, and then I will hand over now to Sammy, who will talk you through our entry requirements and give you some information on some scholarships that are available as well.
Yeah, so we typically look for successful applicants to hold a first or upper second class honours degree or an overseas equivalent, and that doesn't necessarily need to be in English or translation studies. So we can accept we can consider applicants from all kind of various backgrounds. We can also consider if you have lower than a 2-1 degree classification, but that obviously would be on a case-by-case basis, and we would encourage you to upload any additional contextual information in support of your application. So any like your CV or personal statement and any evidence of relevant professional experience that you hold. So it'd be important to note, I suppose, that there's no like published application deadline, but we would encourage you to submit your application as soon as you can, obviously keeping in mind the course is due to start mid-September. And that's particularly important if it is the case that you require a student study visa to study in the UK. Obviously, there's an extra week in a step of applying for your visa there. So you should make sure to give yourself plenty of time to kind of make the necessary arrangements to join us as close to the start of term as possible. So you would submit your application, we would assess it against the kind of published entry requirements, and if we feel that you'd be suitable to progress, we'll send you a wee translation test. So it's just a wee written translation that we issue through email, and we ask that you just complete it as soon as you can and send it back for review by the programme leader. Then if you were successful and made an offer of a place of study and where English is not your first language, you will need to provide some extra additional evidence of your English language proficiency, usually in the form of an IELTS or equivalent English language test. So our current standard requirements are on screen there. So it's an IELTS academic with a 6.5 overall and with no component less than 5.5. But we can consider a number of equivalent English language tests. So if IELTS isn't available to you, or if you'd prefer like for example, the Oxford English Language Level Test or Duolingo, we can accept now as well, are both tests that can be taken online at your convenience. So it doesn't necessarily need to be an IELTS, but we can certainly provide some further information about that if you do come to receive an offer. And there are some exceptions we can make to you needing to sit that IELTS. So if it's the case that you've been educated to degree level in a majority English speaking country, or if you have been educated in the medium of English, then we can consider that as well on a case by case basis. But again, we'll review your application when you apply and let you know if that's something that you'd be eligible for. In terms of scholarships, I'm not sure if I'm able to change the slide deck, but yeah, we have a couple of scholarships opportunities available at the moment. There's no separate application process if you'd like to be considered for a scholarship. So again, it would just be the case that you'd submit your course application, we would review it, and then if you'd be suitable for a scholarship, we'll be in touch with you directly to confirm that. So for this year, it's actually the 850th anniversary of the City of Glasgow. So to celebrate that, we're awarding the Glasgow 850 Master Scholarships to all eligible overseas fee payers. So long as you'll be self-funding your studies and you're not otherwise being sponsored, then that scholarship award will be confirmed to you once you've paid your deposit. So that would be to the value of £5,000. So it's a partial scholarship, and it'll be deducted from your overall tuition fees when you come to register. In addition to that, we also have a couple of Dean's International Excellence Awards for overseas students. But those will be, so the Glasgow 850 Master Scholarship is an automatic scholarship, so so long as you're self-funded, you will be eligible for that. The Dean's Scholarship, we assess those, it's kind of merit-based rather than on financial need. So again, we would just be assessing your course application, and that would be awarded to kind of standout applicants. So again, we would encourage you to make a strong application, including details of any of your like relevant professional experience, any like extracurricular experience that you feel is relevant as well, would take that into consideration when it comes to obviously making your place on the course and also assessing your scholarship eligibility and suitability. In addition to that, we do have Dean's Dean's Excellence Awards, sorry, for home or our UK students. So those would be to the value of £2,000. And again, there's a limited number of scholarships available, and they're awarded based on merit rather than financial needs. So the same applies again. We would assess your course application, and if we would deem you suitable for one of those, we'd be in touch to let you know. And the other wee scholarship opportunity to be aware of is the alumni discount. So if it's the case that you've studied your undergraduate degree at Strathclyde, or if you've completed like a previous master's course, then you would be eligible for a discount of 15% off your tuition fees. And again, no separate scholarship application form. We would just assess, and if you're suitable, we'd let you know about that. In terms of other funding opportunities, we would encourage you to get in contact with your relevant funding body. So for Scottish students, that would be SAS, and they're available to, on a case-by-case basis, I believe, offer you a tuition fee loan and also like a living cost maintenance loan as well. But they would be best placed to confirm your eligibility for that, and also to let you know how much you would be eligible for. And likewise, if you're from England, Wales, Northern Ireland, it would be student finance that you'd be looking to speak to about that. If you have any questions, I'm not sure if we've got a note of it on the slide deck, but our email address would be has-pgd-admissions@strath.ac.uk. So if you've got any questions at all that are related to the entry requirements, admissions process, anything, student support, anything at all that you'd like answered, you can fire a wee email to us there. And if you've got any questions about the content of the slides there, or yep, there we go, we've got it on the screen, thank you. And if you've got any questions as well about the programme delivery, feel free to fire that over to, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Thanks, Sammy. And similarly, if you've got any program specific questions, then feel free to reach out to me via email as well. I think that's everything. So again, thanks very much for watching this webinar, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.